Are you Lucas? Yes.
The I'm sorry. I just read the phrase password. It must be between 1 and 8 or 4 and 8 characters. They have an 8 character limit on passwords. That's fucked up.
What kind of password are you doing? Can y'all see now?
Typically, you want to.
I can see the face cam.
There's 2 of them. Delta Ring,
Hey y'all, we'll start in a sec. Be sure to fill out attendance. It's in the attendance channel. I'm just trying to make sure that oh, now face cam's gone. I'm trying to make sure that Discord people can see. Oh, I'm gonna
maybe of this project place.
Why does, dude, it's like the GSU Wi-Fi works really well up until I start using it.
Up until you start using it and relying on it.
Yeah, like the minute that I actually need it. Let me try going on my hotspot. That'll be better.
Maybe. Sometimes not. Stream is up, by the way.
Oh, now I can't even join. I think I'm being hacked. I don't know.
Apparently, it is set up.
Apparently. I mean, if it doesn't work, I can't keep going back and forth. I have a pretty meaty presentation planned today.
Now I have a coupon to do any activity for $2 off.
At round one.
And 1 game of bowling for $2 off weekday only.
I have my own bowling ball. I used to be on my high school bowling team.
Oh my god.
Aurora if you want.
Pretty epic.
It's actually probably
I set my parameters right yet. I'm making sure because I don't want to spend like $1 million on something.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, nice. Alright, so now we're gonna try this one at a time. Did y'all fill out attendance?
Yeah.
Okay, can y'all see me?
Yeah, I can. So.
Alright, now can y'all see my screen? It looks like it's good.
Yeah. That's working.
Looks good, everybody? What's that? Yeah? Yep, okay, cool. Alright, has everybody filled out attendance? Peeps, guys, gamers. Everybody fill out attendance if you haven't already, and then we'll go ahead and get started. While you're filling out attendance, stuff about today. Today is our first workshop meet. Guys, thank you. Today's our first workshop meeting. It's going to be, I mean, you can see what it's going to be about. What's going to happen is it's going to be the workshop, and then it's going to be a work meeting. I don't know exactly how long the workshop's going to take. I'm expecting around 50 minutes. Wait, guys, for real, please. Thank you. I'm expecting it to be for around 50 minutes, and then we'll have like 30 minutes of, guys, what is, I'm like hyper caffeinated today. Okay, workshop meeting, it's gonna be about 50 minutes, kind of depending on how many questions y'all have. Hopefully I explain well enough that there won't be too many questions. Feel free to ask though. Then we have about 40-ish minutes up until 6:30 to work on games, hang out with people. It's technically work meeting time. but if you don't wanna work, or you didn't bring a laptop, or you brought like your Switch or something, you can just game and hang out. Treat it as like an informal game night. And then after that at 6:30, everyone's going to get in their cars or get in the cars that you are carpooling with. Does everybody here know who they're carpooling with? Yes? Yeah? Cool. And then we're gonna meet at round one and meet VGDev peeps at 7:15. So for anybody in here or people online who are driving on your own, try and get there around 7:15. It's round one in Cumberland Parkway. Message me if you're not sure, Cumberland Mall, yeah. Message me if you're not 100% sure about where it is. I can give you the exact address. And yeah, so has everybody had time to fill out the attendance? Online peeps good? Yeah? All right. Okay. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff. I have like my notes here and my screen obviously here. So if y'all see anything pop up for like questions on that board, please feel free to yell at me for that. And yeah. So without further ado, I will start the first workshop. So today's workshop, we tried to do them so that they're a little bit more inclusive for everybody in the club, and the topics are a little bit more general for everybody in the club. So instead of going like in depth on like how to use Blender, stuff like that, we're trying to make these applicable to everybody here so that people don't feel like they don't get something out of a workshop. So yeah, I just kind of put together stuff that I had to learn the hard way. So I'm going to switch this slide. There's not going to be a QR code for attendance. If you need that, it's in the attendance sheets or the attendance channel. All right, so round one. This is going to be a little bit more towards programmers because I'm a programmer, so I kind of recognize that stuff a little bit easier and understand that stuff a little bit more than other areas. So bear with me. Just know that this information will help out teams as a whole. And I try to include fun GIFs and graphics so it doesn't bore the non-programmers. So round one, your friends. As a programmer, your friends are asset stores and Google. Asset stores, I don't have much to go into on it, other than just like a gentle reminder that they do exist and to use them and to not feel like it's cheating to use them. I know that there's the Unity Asset Store, and that's good for bringing stuff directly into your project. It's not as expansive as like some stuff online. Like I know that there's websites that have like 3D modeling stuff. I know there's websites that have like sprite sheets, sound assets. So if you're looking for anything in the sound or art department and you're like halting your production in the engine because you're waiting for an artist, don't do that. Use asset stores. Don't rush your artists. Don't make an excuse that you don't have art to do something, because if you're a programmer and you haven't used a random block where you're waiting for art for it, you should be doing that. What else? There's also, I don't know if this counts as like asset stores, but there's also libraries that you can find online that do specific things, and this takes a little bit more like looking around for that. But what I like to use is like Tweening Library, so you can pull in one of the libraries. I think the one that I use is from the Unity Asset Store. So then you don't have to hard code everything, because sometimes I either don't have the knowledge or I don't want to take time to figure that out and like reinvent the wheel. So I just use these libraries. If you know how to call a method, you can use the library most of the time. So yeah, it's not cheating to use those. I definitely suggest using these types of things, even if your final game has stuff from online or the asset store. That is okay. That has happened before in the past. Don't feel like you're cheating because of that. So yeah. The second one is Google. And so I feel like this topic sounds a little bit weird, like how to Google. You just kind of like put things in the search bar and press enter, and that's how you Google. Hopefully, I can convince you otherwise that there are better ways to Google, especially as a programmer. So this is how I used to Google. And I don't think that there's really anything wrong with this, especially if you're just starting out and you're trying to get a little bit more comfortable with the interface. But let me kind of give my 2 cents on this and what I've learned and see if it makes sense for y'all. This was my slide where I was gonna say, if you told me a year ago or 2 years ago that that was not the correct way to Google, I'd be doing this. Because it's true, you just put things in a search bar. But anyways, bear with me, see if this makes sense. What I recommend doing is breaking down and generalizing your search. So what the Google was 2 slides ago was how to make a pause screen in Unity, which fine search, especially if you're starting out. However, so like for a pause screen, what do you need to put on a pause screen? You need maybe an image pop up to like actually show the pause screen, like the background. You need a volume slider. You need a main menu button, and maybe you can even break that down further so you have like a button, and then you switch scenes through code with that button. So from this, sorry, I thought someone raised their hand. From this, so like the image pop-up, you just Google like how to make a UI image overlay Unity. And I always recommend putting whatever program you're using into the search bar as well. I feel like that sounds obvious, but yeah. So like volume slider, how to make a volume slider. Main menu button, how to make a UI button Unity, how to switch scenes. I should have put switch scenes through code Unity. But doing this instead of just Googling how to do the main thing that you're doing, I think is a lot more beneficial, not only to the game, but to yourself. Okay. Okay, so then here's my why. And I used to do, I said that's how I used to Google things. I think it is more efficient, one, for customization, because if you follow a generalized tutorial or a standard tutorial, you're gonna get those standard results, which isn't the worst thing, especially if you're starting out, but I just think that it's a habit that you shouldn't get into. The next thing is you are probably going to develop errors that are outside of your scope of things that you can fix. I know from personal experience, and I know from talking to other people, that if you are in a space where you need to do like a step-by-step tutorial for how to go about something, you probably don't have the technical knowledge to then like solve the errors. And following a tutorial can be really freaking tedious. There's so many things that you could miss. There's stuff that could have been set up beforehand. There's also different versions of Unity that interact with things differently. So if you keep going and watching a bunch of tutorials, what's eventually going to happen is you're going to hit a tutorial that is using a version of Unity that isn't really compatible with the version that you're using, and you're going to run into errors whether or not you even messed up. And then what ends up happening, and what happened to me a lot of the times, is I would go and then try to fix those errors, and I did not know what the code was, which is really not helpful, because then you can't even ask other people, hey, I got this error, what is wrong? You send them their code, what they're gonna ask is, well, what does this do? Like, show me what this does, and then I can try and help you. But I didn't know what it did. I was just copying a video. So that's errors outside of your scope. And then this last one, building your toolbox. Watching a video, I don't think helps you remember things in the same way as like looking at the individual elements. And I have a whole slide as to why. So pulling up that pause screen thing again. So this is the pause screen that I was talking about a couple slides back. So from doing this and from looking at like Unity forums or wherever you're looking to find code to accomplish each of these individual elements, what knowledge have you now gained that you can apply to other things? So how to make a canvas. That image pop-up is called a canvas. Hopefully you learn how to scale a canvas. Hopefully. It took me a while to learn that actually. how to make a button from that main menu button that you made, and then how to switch scenes through code. So now you have, and I mean, there's a few things that you probably also pulled up, like the volume slider and whatever. But from this knowledge that you now have from just breaking down that search from a generalized video into these individual things, you can do a lot more so you don't have to keep looking at those videos. So now what can you do with the toolbox that you created? You can make a main menu scene with a canvas, and you can have a button on there that switches to your first level just by figuring out how to do that pause menu. You can also make a pause button to pull up your pause screen. And the reason why I put that is because oftentimes when I would be watching these Brackeys videos, do y'all know what Brackeys is?
I've seen Brad.
Yeah, heck yeah. Okay, I didn't know if like Brackeys was actually a meme like that. They'll have something set up beforehand, and then you go into whatever it is that you're doing, and you don't know what that setup is. You don't really understand how to do that setup, and you'll need to implement things that you might have actually learned in the video. And I think that doing it this way helps you actually learn it. And I'll give my why for that as well. Because I was thinking that some people might be thinking like, well, if you're getting the same outcome, like what's the difference? Like you see the 10 key moments in the video, it's broken down. So you should have learned how to make a canvas. You should, I guess you learned about TextMesh Pro in that video. You should learn these things, right? And that's kind of what I was thinking might be the interpretation. However, I think that from my personal experience and from talking with other people who have done the same thing, when you watch through a video, you are not engaging in the same way that you are if you read through code and then utilize that code in your own development. And the reason why is because you're not really focused on what you're doing, why you're doing, and like how it works. All you're really focused on is matching screen for screen your Unity editor. Well, I'm just saying Unity because yeah, you're just focusing on matching whatever you're working on with what the video is showing you. You're not really thinking about, oh, this is a button, I can then go and apply this button as a replay button, or I don't know what else you would need. But I don't think that it sorts in your memory that way. It doesn't sort in my memory that way. And just like a personal anecdote about that is in my first semester of Aurora, I implemented parallaxing into a game. Parallaxing, by the way, is like when the background, I don't know if like renders is the right word, but like it moves differently than the foreground. Like the background stays a little bit more constant, and sometimes there's different layers on that. So it's just kind of like aesthetics. I put that into my game, and I, one, now could not tell you how the heck that worked. Two, if you put the code in front of me, I couldn't tell you how the code worked because I just copied it from a video, which means that I didn't really learn anything from that. I couldn't redo it. I'd have to go and look something up and try and figure it out now. And that's because I just watched a video and copied the video exactly how it told me, ran into a butt ton of errors. It took me about a week and a half to do it. So did it look cool? Did it give me the same outcome? Yes, it gave me the same outcome that it would have if I looked into just like a Unity forum site about it, but I couldn't replicate that for you. And I feel like that's what this club is about actually learning those skills and being able to build off of them and utilize them in other areas. So I just strongly advise against using video tutorials, like very generalized video tutorials, and I advise more towards looking at code and trying to see how you can implement that into your own stuff. Because the other thing is, if you look at a Unity forums website or like Stack Overflow or whatever, and it doesn't make sense to you, and you can't make sense of it, you probably shouldn't be using that in your game anyways, because if you're not going to take the time to kind of figure it out, you wouldn't do that anyways with a video. So yeah, I think that's my last slide for that. So any questions on that? Online peeps, any questions?
No.
Alright, I think that's my last slide. I don't wanna switch it. Okay, yeah, it was. Okay. So backing up from the programming part of things, sorry for non-programmers, I know I said that this was more general and then did that, but this is more organizational stuff. So yeah. So, okay, legit question for y'all, this one is not rhetorical at all. Do y'all do things, like when you set out to do something, do you say like, I'm going to get a walk cycle, I'm gonna make the walk cycle animation today, or like I'm gonna make the character controller today, or do you say I'm gonna work for 2 hours and then be done? How do y'all go about it?
2 hours, then I'm
You do
done.
time?
I think 2 hours, so like I'll try to be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this today, and then
Mm-hmm.
whatever, my brain don't work.
Dude, okay, perfect. Love that answer. Cause I mean, first of all, same. My brain don't work sometimes too. But also, I highly recommend, and honestly, this is probably something that you can. Someone said they do it by task. And by the way, Discord peeps, feel free to unmute and yell things if I'm not responding to your thing. What?
Hey, turn your mic off.
Soam, what is?
Oh, sorry, hold on.
So yes, Mars is correct. Or I guess not correct, but Mars is getting at something that I feel like is something that I had to think about, and figure out why I'm procrastinating things. And I think that it was because I was looking at things in a much more like task-based approach rather than a time-based approach. And what happens when you do that is, if you just say, like, I need to make the character controller today, it is not a set period of time that you're going to be working on something. So it's kind of daunting, especially because you know that your team's going to be looking at your work, and then at some point in time, the entire club is going to be looking at your work. So it's kind of intimidating to go at something like that, even if, I mean, this is a pretty lax environment, I would think. But it still can be very scary, and especially for those of us who are doing things for the first time, it's pretty freaking intimidating. However, if you go into something and say, okay, this is gonna take me, or I'm gonna take an hour and a half to do this, and then after that, I'm gonna be done, and maybe allow yourself some leeway, because sometimes I'll do that, and once I get started, I'm like, need to finish, which is totally fine. But if you just go into it with the mentality of, I have this amount of time, I'm gonna work on this, and then I'm gonna be done, it is a lot less scary, because you don't see this like infinite amount of time that it could possibly take. And the other thing about doing a time-based approach instead of a task-based approach, what are the reactions? Same. Nice. Is it's easier to schedule that. So if you have 2 hours out of your day, between classes or maybe after class, you can schedule in, I'm gonna take these 2 hours to work on the game, and that's it. It doesn't matter if I don't get everything done. I'm just gonna have these hours, versus kind of putting what I tend to do is I put the task-based approach on like a to-do list, and then I just keep procrastinating and moving it over to different days, because it's hard, and then you get, and then you get crunch, which is not good. However, we do have deadlines in Aurora, and we do have these milestone presentations where you do show off what is in engine. And I feel like kind of the energy has seemed to me like it's just like all hands on deck. Everybody needs to throw everything into the engine for these types of things. So sometimes you can't do time-based. You need to get something done because your milestone is tomorrow or the showcase is tomorrow. For whatever reason, you need to do this task-based approach. It happens. I think if it's happening a lot of the times, you should reevaluate how much time you're giving in the time-based approach. But it happens. I mean, y'all know game dev companies have horrible hours, horrible crunch. They have to enact anti-crunch rules and regulations. Crunch is a big thing in game dev, and sometimes you need to do task-based. So my suggestion for if you need to go about things task-based is to have work meetings with your team. And I suggest that for a couple reasons, one of which being it streamlines the communication between your team. So if you have something that you're not 100% sure how you want to go about it, or if you need somebody to do something for you to be able to do your thing, that person is right there. They can answer questions, they can do things for you, they can help you, you can be like, wow, this sucks, I'm tired, and then you'll hear like a crowd of same. So it's nice, it turns it into more of like a social thing. The other part of that is it turns task-based into a little bit more time-based, not fully because you need to get something done, you can't just stop after 2 hours, but it just adds the accountability that I think the time-based approach helps with. So you have a set time that y'all are gonna start this work meeting. There's other people there that you feel bad for not showing up and doing your work with. I know that a lot of people benefit from like, do y'all know what body doubling is? That sounds, I feel like that sounded like a weird, it's basically like if somebody's working, it's easier for you to get work done because y'all are doing the same thing. So it adds with that. So it just streamlines that communication. It adds like built-in accountability. It makes it more of a social event. And yeah, so if you need to go task-based, definitely do it as a team. I know that some teams have work meetings already set up, and that's good on y'all because I do think that work meetings are very great. Game dev, at the end of the day, is a very collaborative thing. So yeah, very good. And then my bonus tip on this slide, woo, exciting bonus tip, guys.
Bonus tip! Woo!
Yeah,
Bonus tip!
thank you all. Put small items into your to-do list. I started doing this, honestly, if we're gonna get real, a mental health professional told me to do this, because I would only put like big tasks that I felt like I wouldn't do if I didn't put it on to-do list. And she told me to start just like putting like shower, like stuff like that on your to-do list, because then when you look at your to-do list, it is so much easier to chip away at it. And I don't know about y'all, but I tend to, once I start at things for the day, it's a lot easier to keep going. It's kind of that momentum that I have to build. So being able to mark small things off of your list, one, makes the list less intimidating as a whole because it's not like every single thing on your list is like a 3-hour project. Some of it you can literally just instantly check off. And two, it gets the ball moving, it gets the ball rolling. I know that the last time I saw Jaden's game design document, they had simple like weekly stuff on there that was just like update the Trello, which is a super easy thing that is kind of a mindless thing that we all would just be like, well, duh, you just have to do that as part of the other big tasks. But I think that putting stuff on there like that is very, very helpful. Because for the reasons I already stated, it just makes it less intimidating. So that's my bonus tip. That's another one that I feel like can definitely be applicable to other things. Like I said, I literally have on my to-do list to like shower and brush my teeth. All right. Round 3, self-doubt. So if you don't already know, Aurora is open to literally all skill levels, all majors, everything, as long as you go to GSU. You can join Aurora. Really, if you want to work on a game development team, you can join Aurora. And in this regard, I want to state some things that I felt were very obvious, but I feel like once you get caught up in development, you kind of forget. Once you see other people working, especially newer people in the club, you don't really realize this type of stuff. So one, you're allowed to learn. You don't have to come into this club and only apply the skills that you already are proficient at, good at. This is, if not allowed, you are encouraged to learn new things and take time in this club to kind of like try things out. If you have never done sound design before and you really want to try sound design, do it. This is the place to do stuff like that. I think that it's important to kind of find that middle ground between what is a challenge versus like what you can skate through, and then what you can, what is going to hurt your brain, and find a middle ground between those things. But other than that, I encourage y'all to take on new things. I think you should take on new things. I think if you're not taking on new things, you should definitely start taking on new things, because this is a professional development club, and my understanding of that was that the development wasn't like development, it was like professional development, like your development as a person. So yeah. Second one, you're allowed to make mistakes. I have made mistakes. Pascal has made mistakes.
Hi.
Pascal and I have made mistakes together for 2 semesters in a row.
So many.
Lots of mistakes. So just because you make a mistake, and even if it is a big one, and you feel like you didn't give something your all, or you didn't do what you set out to do in the beginning of the semester, that's okay. You learned. And I do say, and I feel like I learned this from like high school sports, if you're gonna make mistakes, make them at full speed. And that, what I mean by that is, it's better to make a mistake trying to do something a little bit crazy than it is to make a mistake because you didn't do anything at all and you were too scared to do the crazy thing. Because I feel like we could categorize both of those as like mistakes, but one of them you learned like, maybe I shouldn't have done sound development or sound design. So yeah, you're allowed, if not encouraged, to make mistakes. The last one is that you are not expected to be the master of all. And by that I mean, if you see other people that are really good at doing what they do, and you think that you are lesser than them because you can't do the thing that they're doing, or they're going at it faster. Like I know when I look at me and Pascal work on a dev team together, and when I watch Pascal do like 3D modeling, when I see Pascal's 3D models, I'll watch him in Blender and I have absolutely no idea what's going on, and I just look at it like, wow, that's very cool, but I don't know what that means. And he feels I asked him, he feels the same way when he sees me in Unity.
It's devil magic, whatever you do.
Well, I think the same thing about Blender.
It is actually.
So don't feel like, one, just don't compare yourself to other people. We are all at different skill levels. We have all been in the club for different amounts of time. We all are different. We're taking different classes, different class loads. Don't compare yourself to people in general, but also don't feel like you need to become the master of every single skill, because there are so many areas in game development that people just don't get into. Another like anecdote is on the dev project that me and Pascal are on, our lead programmer, when I watch him, like, and this is in the scope of programming, when I watch him program, I have absolutely no idea what's going on, and I asked him to troubleshoot something that was very simple for me, that I always, or not simple for me because I was asking him to troubleshoot it, but something that I thought would be very simple for him because I thought he was on this like higher level than me, and he didn't know what was going on, and it just kind of opened my eyes up. So don't feel bad if other people are doing things differently than you. Do not compare yourself. With that being said, this slide is not correct. That's meant to be a thing. It looks like I just said, with that being said, get good. I didn't mean it like that. With that being said,
Now it's nice with that.
Yeah, I
Now
mean,
it's like, give that.
understand that everybody is comparing themselves, or at least a lot of people are comparing themselves. So if you think that somebody else is doing something really impressive, either that person or somebody else in this room thinks that what you're doing is very impressive. I guarantee you there is somebody who thinks that your thing that you're doing is very cool. And self-doubt, comparisons, unhealthy comparisons, all that stuff happens naturally. So if you are a stronger member of the club, if you're a more veteran member of the club, your job among just like standard development stuff is to be as encouraging as possible. And support people at the skill level that they're at. Don't try and get people to get to a higher skill level. And I'll kind of just give like a programming example, because I'm sorry, program is, yeah. I can just do that easier than like art or whatever. Back to my first Aurora project, what I was doing was very, very low level stuff, but I felt like an actual like tech wizard genius doing it. And looking back on it, it was horrendous. But if somebody had told me at that stage of my like development path that what I was doing wasn't enough or wasn't good enough or wasn't like properly optimized or whatever, I would have been very discouraged, and I honestly might have not continued with the club. So if you know that you're one of these stronger members and you can give advice like that, definitely wait for people to reach out to you and meet people at the skill level that they're at. Make sure that you're not overwhelming people, because it takes a bit to build your skills up. This means no micromanaging each other. I feel like the reason why people want their team to go above and beyond and kind of skip through that like learning phase is because y'all want to put this type of stuff on your resume. And that's fair. I feel like that was one of like the advertising things for Aurora, is like these are resume projects that you can use when you are trying to get hired. I talked with people who either have interviewed in the industry or work in the industry, and they all said that your future employers will absolutely not hold you accountable for the things that other people did. What they will hold you accountable for is if they ask you, hey, why is this, we'll go the art route, why is this walk cycle so much worse than the rest of the walk cycles for all the other characters? And you start bashing the person that you were working with because they were new, that does not look good. If you can spin that to a positive and say, oh yeah, like this person was just trying out game development, we gave them this walk cycle because they really liked the character, whatever, that looks a lot better than having that, I don't want to say flaw, but having that like less experienced bit of your game. So don't micromanage people, be encouraging, be helpful. If people reach out for advice and help, do that. Team leads, you know that there's a difference between telling people that they can't just like go AFK versus saying that their stuff isn't good. Yeah, so that doesn't excuse people from just not putting in any work, but be conscious of the fact that there are different people at different skill levels doing different things and expecting different outcomes from this club. All right, round 4, communication. Oh, I feel like I haven't been asking questions. Does anybody have questions about this stuff?
I was just gonna say that it's like never a bad time to ask for help.
Yes.
Is that what this section is like partially about?
Yes.
That I have like. Sorry.
No, you can go.
I remember once I was looking up stuff for a dialogue system in Unity. I found a forum thread of somebody asking for help. The person asking for help was the lead developer of Hollow Knight. So, never be afraid to ask for help.
I thought you were going to go into, I've seen people on Unity forums say that if you're asking for such base level help, you shouldn't be developing games in the first place. And I thought that that's where you were going with that.
No.
I think it's exactly the Minecraft modding community. Like, if you're not like 100% proficient with Java,
They're like, get out.
Get out.
Yeah.
I might have to find that forum thread at some point, but it's like Team Cherry. I know that name from somewhere. Oh yeah.
I have not seen that.
The guys that are spending 80 years developing Silksong.
Okay, yeah, round 4 communication. Yes, I will, yes. And then let me know if there's more. Okay, so I was gonna do a who, what, where, when, why, how? Is there both of them at the end? Yeah, but I only did who's and what's because I was like, that's a little bit much. So the who's of who to communicate with. 1, your team leads. They put in a lot of time and effort before they even pitch to y'all, trying to get a good presentation, get a good game design document, figure out weekly tasks and how they're going to delegate them, figure out all of the logistics for stuff. So they're really into this. I met with them, some of them I met for with for like hours trying to revise things and get things great for y'all. So they're very into this. Of course, keep healthy communication boundaries and stuff like that. But communicate with your team leads. They want this to succeed just as much or more than y'all. So yeah. The second one is communicate with your fellow group members. I know that y'all have Discord servers. I'm lurking in them. So is Pascal, actually. And those people, like, I don't know if y'all know, and I don't know if this is mansplaining, but the stronger of a bond that you can develop with your group, the better that y'all will do, because you don't want to like let down your friends. If these are just some random people that you don't ever see, it's a little bit easier to kind of fall into that procrastination, not actually doing anything pattern. But if they're your friends and you know them and you have a good time with them, it's a lot nicer of a time in development. Also, communicate with other members of Aurora. If you just want to expand your friend group, want to find maybe new people to work with in following semesters, maybe there's something that you saw from another team that you really want to figure out how to do. Is there anything else? Yeah, anyways, we have the channels. In that other text channels folder, there are specific channels for programming, art, I think there's one for sound. So just type in those channels, ask questions if you want to ask questions, reach out to specific people. We also have those tags, like the self-assigned roles, so you can add all programmers that decided to assign themselves that tag. So definitely communicate with those people. It's also really fun to show up to these Friday meetings. I know some of y'all take advantage of it, but the doors open at 4. So if y'all want to come in here, you can even like rent out HDMI cables and connect to those TVs. Y'all are free to do that. Come here at 4, bring card games, bring whatever, and make friends. And then the last one is communicate with Pascal and I. I know that I've said a couple times, I think, that kind of the hierarchy is it goes y'all, project members, team leads, and then team leads communicate with me and Pascal, but it doesn't have to be like that. That's mainly just so that we don't miss anything, because team leads will have more nuances from y'all's interactions and chats and stuff. They're also there for the voice chat meetings that Pascal and I just can't really feasibly be there for. So if you ever want to communicate with me and Pascal, Pascal does literally all things art. He does 3D modeling, he does animations, pixel art. Yeah, he's good and getting better by the day.
I even embroider.
Embroidering now.
Like, it's good if you're an artist to get into other forms of art. That way you can go, oh my god, I'm tired of looking at his screen. Sewing.
Dude, bonus tip. Round 2, heck yeah.
You guys are getting all the bonuses.
Oh yeah, bonus tip. So yeah, communicate with Pascal and I. There's also, if y'all haven't checked it out, in the links channel, there is a team lead constitution, and I'm halfway sorry to team leads for mentioning this and recommending this. But that is the document that all of y'all's team leads signed off on and said that they would agree to all of the terms on it. So if you kind of don't know what to expect from your team lead, what your team lead should be doing, feel free to read through that. If you have any issues about that, of course, you're free to talk to your team lead about it, but if you don't want to do that, talk to Pascal and I. We used to have this like anonymous form that you could fill out, so maybe I'll put that back in there so you guys can just like leave anonymous messages if you feel like something's going wrong. But also feel free to reach out to Pascal and I. We will not reveal, if there is like an actual issue, we won't tell your team lead who said it. So yeah, and then the what, communicate what you can do. So for me, I am a UI UX developer. So I just fit in that, like I would say I'm a programmer, but then I would specifically communicate, well, I like doing UI stuff. That's what I'm good at. That's what I enjoy. And maybe for y'all, that's like 3D modeling. Maybe y'all do 3D modeling for like people, actually Soam's online. But like for sound design people, like the general category of sound design might not be what you are specifically doing. So maybe you make like the background audios, maybe you make like footstep noises really well. Communicate what you can do, because then your team leads can kind of like work with that. Also communicate what you can't do. So if you're assigned 7 character walk cycles to do in 3 days, communicate that if that's too much for you, communicate that that's too much for you. Did someone say my favorite to? I can't read the times. Oh, okay. It's really good to communicate what you can't do, and I know that y'all might see that as like, well, I should try first before I just say no. And I would say to that again, find that like healthy middle ground of what is actually challenging without making you want to like gouge your eyes out. So yeah, it is totally fair to communicate what you can't do, but as a workaround to that, what I would suggest doing is communicate what you want to do when you communicate that you can't do something. So back to the like 7 character, what did I say, character walk cycles? Back to the 7 character walk cycles, if you can't do 7 in 4 days, say, okay, I can do this over the span of 2 weeks. You can also communicate that you want to start getting into background design, or you want to start getting into UI programming. That also gives your team lead areas to work with what they might want to delegate to you, and help your what you're assigned be a little bit more tailored towards you. These last 2 kind of go together, so I'll just pull them up at the same time. Communicate. I know that oftentimes people leave the club halfway through the semester, they stop working for like a month and then come back. If you know that this is something that's going to happen, let your team leads know. Please, please, please let your team leads know. Also, like for missed meetings, let your team leads know, and that's like these Friday meetings, but also like y'all's weekly meetings. Let your team leads know. And because I know that people don't want to be this guy, and they don't want to, one, lock themselves into like, I'm not going to be working on this for X amount of time, but 2, they don't want to admit that they actually can't do something that they committed to doing. And I know that that's a bad feeling, and I know that it usually isn't received very well, but let's do a, if one team, or if one person says that they cannot do something for X amount of time, or they give you this type of news that is the deeply tragic type, try your best to be accommodating and be understanding, and understand that bad news is better than no news. I've worked on projects in the past that one of the project members just was not, after like I think the 3rd meeting, one of our project members just stopped working. And it was really difficult for me as the team lead to kind of understand how I should redelegate, if I should redelegate, if I should bring new people on the team, because it was a weird balance of not wanting to be rude and take somebody's work away from them, but also understanding that we had a goal and that we needed to work towards that goal. So it just kind of leaves your team leads in a weird place if you don't communicate that. So as long as y'all can try to promise to communicate, if you're going to be not coming to meetings, or if you're not going to be able to work on your project for an extended period of time, and team leads can y'all promise that y'all will be understanding of that and understand that bad news is better than no news. So with that being said, think through your messages. This is kind of like overarching for all of that stuff. When in doubt, use tone indicators. Do y'all know what tone indicators are? No? If you Google tone indicators and then pull up what's it called? The Google Images thing, it'll show you a list of them. Those are good. I think it was originally made for like neurodivergent people so that they could understand tone over text. But because this is such a text, like a lot of the time we're communicating with messaging, Yes, exactly. Jackie's, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, there's a chart online that you can find, yeah. They're really helpful just for online communication. I don't know why it was ever phrased as like this is for like neurodivergence, because I think that in general, especially working with people that you don't really know, it's a little bit harder to understand what people are trying to say and what people are trying to communicate. So if you feel like your message might be a little bit ambiguous, that is definitely one way that you can properly clarify, and just think through your messages. Think through how you're going to be perceived. Because yeah, once again, this is a first word professional. Nice, thank you, Pascal. Professional game development club. So while it is like game development and it doesn't need to be suit and tie level of professional, you do want to communicate with people in an effective and healthy way. So just think through your messages. So, round 5. This is mainly just a recap of everything. Basically just to say that you get what you give, you get out what you put into Aurora. So definitely develop a good work-life balance and don't let it kill your social life. But do think about the time and energy that you're putting into the club. Think about the relationships that you're developing, the people that you meet, the way that you're communicating with the people that you meet, the way that other people are viewing you in this club, because you never know who's going to work somewhere that you want a recommendation for. And that's not to say that like this is like use everybody in this club for professional recommendations. But if you can make a friend and that friend then works somewhere that you want to work, that is a big step up, and that's part of being in a community of people with similar goals. I know not all of y'all are going to go into game development. Some of y'all are just here having fun. But yeah, you really do get out what you put in. You get out the amount of experience that you give the effort to get. Like we're doing round 1. Oh, that's funny. I did this presentation in rounds. Maybe that's where. Anyways, we're doing a social event tonight. So like stuff like that, building friendships, making new connections. Very helpful, very useful. Partly as useful as like the experience that you gain from developing and working with people. So yeah, kind of think about what you want out of this club. Kind of think about what you want. Jackie's. I love game development. Kind of think about what you want out of this club and put in the energy to get out what your goal is to get out. So yeah, that is the end of that. I do want to quickly talk about milestones next week and what that is. Our first milestone is going to be next Friday. Y'all had, I think it was 3 weeks to work towards that. So what milestones are and how they differ from the progress updates is there is going to be, instead of showing like a compilation of everything that's been worked on, you show off what is in engine. So definitely make a build. I know that some of y'all, like you have a Mac, so I don't know how easy it is to do Mac builds. So maybe that won't work, but have something, either have a build or have a bug-free, error-free mainly, thing that you can pull up so that if people want to come up and play, they can. I'm thinking about maybe making a channel so that we can post the builds at each milestone so that people can play that and kind of keep track of that, and y'all can see how y'all have progressed over the weeks. But it is a build. It is not just a compilation of work and stuff. You need to show off what is in engine. With that, y'all are also going to show off, or I guess not show off, but talk about from the game design document where you want it to be for the milestone next week, where you actually are for the milestone next week, and then what the plan is to correct that. So maybe you are way ahead and you add some of those polish items in. Maybe you're a little bit behind and you kind of reevaluate what you want to keep in the game versus what you want to take out. Maybe it's just next week is going to be a mini crunch week, And that's how you accommodate. Maybe you're right on track. But just evaluating that and taking time to evaluate that is really, really important. It's something that I think that people don't do because y'all are so caught up in development and same. That's kind of just like an afterthought, which is why it is a requirement of the milestones. So after that, we'll be doing a game night. I'm gonna be taking a poll in attendance. What's like the main game that we're gonna play? Y'all are free to, we're gonna rent out HDMI cables, so if you guys want to bring, I don't know if y'all wanna bring like consoles or whatever, but.
Oh, I'm going to.
Okay.
That's a fact.
I didn't wanna say that, cause I didn't wanna say bring your consoles, but yep, feel free to bring a console, feel free to bring card games if y'all are into that. I know there are some Magic peoples in here. Yeah, HDMI, anything that can plug into an HDMI cable, you can hook up to these TVs. The game that won from the survey that I took to see like what y'all are interested in was Among Us, which I'm
Let's
beyond happy about because I feel like it is such a fun game to play with people in person, less so with random 11-year-olds online.
We should do it so that when we're not in a meeting, we all like disperse around on the floor. So
That will happen
Wait,
naturally.
what
you
if
know that.
everyone goes into a lobby and leaves one slot open and we just mess with that one person?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's
That's a cyberbullying.
That's just cyberbullying.
bully the hell out of
Why not?
There's-
people, like,
and there's 20 slots now, 15 or 20. Jesus. Whatever. There's more than 10 slots now, so we can play with a good amount of people. That's definitely the easiest one. If y'all have any other like collaborative games that you want to throw up here, not throw up, like put up on the board here, let me know and we can try and get that crack-a-lackin'. The other ones were Jackbox. I have that on my PC at home. I don't know if I have Steam on the
luckily,
lag machine.
Jackbox isn't a very intense game, so it shouldn't be difficult to run on like anything. So.
You'd be surprised with this bad boy. But yes, I will try my best to get Jackbox. I have 5 and 7, so if y'all want to check out what that entails, do that.
I have 1 through 5.
Okay, so we also have 1 through 4.
I was saying we could steal Sterling's Xbox and play League Leagues.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, again, bring consoles. We're going to get HDMI cables. We'll kind of figure that out next week. I was going to do a poll this
Which
week.
Xbox are we talking about?
What?
Which Xbox are we talking about?
Like,
Which Xbox?
You said Jackbox.
Oh, Jackbox or Xbox?
Xbox.
I hear.
We could steal Sterling's Xbox.
Thank you.
Bye.
Is it like the original one?
That's the logo.
Okay, wait, but yeah, guys, yes, next week, milestone game night, woohoo, round 1, we have a work meeting now for 30 minutes, if you wanna work, you can work, if you wanna do like a pseudo game night, you can do that, after that, those of y'all who are going to round 1 will be meeting at 7:15, so yes, yeah, cool, good, sleepy. I feel like this whole. Okay, yeah, guys.
Thank you,
Well, I hope I
Hannah.
don't have
I'm
to
probably
sweat.
not gonna go anywhere because my allergy will kill me.
Ew.
If you do it again, like in a couple of weeks, then probably.
Okay, bye.
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 Yeah, no, that's why I needed this before I got here.
I'll check my whole Starbucks.
'cause- How is
Yeah, we'll leave in
that?
like an hour. It's like a 10-minute drive.
It's a 20-minute drive.
It was like